upon a time, in Cupertino, California, a technology company was founded by 3 individuals. But nobody ever imagined that one day it would become the tech giant that we all know today, Apple. But how did Apple become such a great tech company? And why did they become a tech company? Why did Steve Jobs name the company Apple? Does Apple have twice the amount of money than the US Treasury? Was the company's first logo a drawing of a Sir Isaac Newton? Was Apple the first to make a digital camera? This is the tale of Apple.
Was incorporated by Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak in 1976. However, it took time for the founders of Apple Inc. to get it in States. Prior to January 1977, Apple Inc. was an idea started at random, but the commercial effort to secure this idea was made on January 3, 1977. The place where this wonderful idea was registered was Cupertino, California. It wasn't the case that both these Steves met once and created the existing Apple company in a few meetings. Rather, they were friends. They met in 1971 through a mutual friend. With this mutual friend in between, both the Steves started using technology to create income for themselves. It was an informal arrangement where they experimented with making boxes that could allow people to conduct long-distance calls without involving any money. With the initial success of this idea, they both realized their potential in working on technology for the purpose of earning. It was back then when the idea of creating and selling computers was floated between Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak. There is a completely mind-blowing story involved with this initiation of Apple Company. It is one of the milestones that the history of Apple would always point towards. Getting interested in it? Let's continue to the next section. Both Steves had the idea about the creation of computers, but they could not commercialize, especially at a large scale, without any orders or investment. So one of the first orders that Steve Jobs managed to get was from a local computer store. The terms of this order are particularly interesting. There was no sample available with Steve Jobs to show the history of Apple Inc. or the product that he or his team could make. But he entered in an arrangement where a working computer is acceptable by the management of the local store. The condition was that if Steve Jobs and his team did something workable, the local store would buy 50 more pieces from them at a rate of $500 each. This was a huge amount at that time, so the deal was finalized. But now the question was where they would get the spare parts for making the machines. In order to resolve this problem, Steve Jobs went to Kramer Electronics. For them, relying on a random individual was not possible. But when he showed his order slip and asked to get the spare parts on a 30-day credit term, the credit manager agreed, and he was able to procure all the necessary creation of the computer. This was the initiation of the soon-to-be billionaire company. The best part of this setting was the strategy used by the partners to finance their computers. They did not have to give away any of the shares or stock holdings to anyone, but still managed. The initial computers that were created by Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak were simple. Only a few important features were the part of this system, but still, they managed to grab the attention of the users. Some of these features include a TV display system, the existence of bootstrap code on ROM, and the presence of a cassette interface. All the features meant lower design components used in the computer with the existence of better speed and performance, as compared to a number of other devices available in the market. This computer was termed as Apple I, and is the initial version of the computers that have been created under the Apple name. Despite getting the initial 50 orders from Byte Store, it wasn't possible for both the partners to create their own vicinity or factory line where they could manufacture the computers. So one of the things that they did was borrow